finally awake. So you want to hear about Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era, do you?
So welcome to Tablenauts, where we're here to tell you all about it. My name is Max.
Dude, I'm doing.
You moved! You dropped the box lid!
It was just we'll tell you all about it.
And today we're going to be discussing and reviewing Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era, which is the next big thing coming from Chip Theory Games and will be delivering in early 2025.
It will?
It will.
Okay, good.
Yes, I think.
I hope so.
I think. This was not sent to us by Chip Theory Games, by the way. We were lucky to receive a copy by Jeremy Howard. He just wanted to send it on to someone who would cover it, and here we are. We have played, what do we want to say, probably 16 hours of Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era.
Yeah.
Probably somewhere between 15 and 20 hours of this game. We've played
You
through
played more.
Yeah, that's true. I've played more. I played it with
You
another
played
group of
more.
friends.
Yeah, I'm on my third campaign.
I'm.
Are you really?
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so
started
like
the campaign.
collectively,
Yeah.
100 hours. That's what we're going to put in the thumbnail. I mean, you have to. Doolin, can you just tell us what this game is?
Yeah, so it's Skyrim basically in
Okay.
a box. No, I mean kind of
Yeah.
it is, but just like any Chip Theory game, you're going to have. I don't want to say any Chip Theory. Most Chip Theory games, you're gonna have a map with your characters, and you're gonna have chips under those characters that represent their health, and you're gonna have enemies that you're gonna be fighting, and you're also going to have tons of cheat sheets, which this is full of. Where
Lots of keywords.
You're gonna have lots of keywords and lots of things that you're gonna have to look up in terms of like, okay, what does this character have? What do they do to me? Oh, that I don't like that. Oh, but I have this cool thing that I'm gonna react with, and yeah, so on and so forth. And instead of a campaign that you can do in one sitting or like one full-fledged adventure, this is more of a 4-part campaign, right?
3-part.
Yeah,
3-part.
but...
We turned it into 4-part. 4-part campaign, 3-part campaign, where the goal is you and a group of friends can go through an entire story in 3 sessions of how many hours would you say, Kenny?
3 to 4.
3 to 4.
Yeah.
And throughout this, you're going to be dice rolling. You're going to be dungeon delving. You're going to be visiting cities on maps. You're going to be making choices as to whether or not you want to save this person or choose to flee or whatever. It's a lot. It's pretty open ended in terms of the where you can go and what you can do, and all of the cards give you a million different choices, which makes it feel a lot like the video game.
So the game is basically divided into like a few phases. Like there's basically a day phase where you're going to choose where you're going to go on the map. Because I think one of the defining differences between this versus something like Too Many Bones is you, instead of going down like a linear path, in Skyrim you actually are like in a big overworld map that kind of makes it feel like a sandbox game where you can kind of go anywhere. So you could have like
Do you remember any sand?
No, I don't like sand.
It's rough course and gets everywhere. That's Kenny's favorite. He got interrupted, and we quoted Star Wars.
Favorite movie.
sandbox style. You can go do like different resolutions. Like you can do like a peaceful resolution, which is just basically making a decision left or right, kind of. Or you can do a combat encounter, where and the combat encounters are a bit different too, because it could be like a skirmish style thing, like you would see in Too Many Bones, or it could be like a dungeon delve, where you're actually exploring a dungeon, trying to find different sky shards that will give you experience and like loot and stuff like that. And like Dylan said, you can also visit a town where you can just like get skills, get equipment. There's also encounters there. The game is just really like, there's a lot to it. The box is very heavy because there's so many chips, so many dice, but also these little booklets that basically map out an adventure for the different various guilds within Elder Scrolls.
So we're going to go through just a handful of bullet points we have that we can kind of talk about and
There's
give
no
our
bullets in
thoughts
this
on
game.
them. No bullets, no guns, arrow points. We can tell you our thoughts about them, and we're going to start here with setup, which predominantly is going to rely on Kenny and I think, as we've actually fully set up the game.
Maybe that's why I like it so much.
Maybe.
I actually think setup's pretty easy. They've actually done a lot of things to make like they included like this little card stand that has like 5 little slots for you to put all the different cards, so it just makes it really easy to like have everything organized, because it is a big game that kind of sprawls out. So having something like that makes setup easy and just makes managing the tabletop easy. I don't think the setup is that bad at all, just because everything is just really card driven, and if you have all the cards in one place, it's not so bad.
Especially that last one. Like I remember, I think we were playing within 10, 15 minutes, you know. It wasn't a crazy thing. And, you know, each of us set up our players pretty quickly. At least for me, like my player, I just, in my the little holder, would take out all of the sheets of, you know, skills we have and make sure my dice were where they needed to be, and then I'm good to go. I'm ready.
Yeah. Which, speaking of, is a good transition to our next bullet point, which is components. So we can talk about not only are they form and function, but they are also genuinely awesome components. If you've ever played a chip theory game, you know what we're talking about. They're big, bulky, chunky, just very deluxeified components, and, you know, plastic cards, weighty chips, fully neoprene player mats for everything, the components that stores your character, that stores the cards. It's everything you've come to expect from most chip theory games, and in Elder Scrolls it's no different. One thing in particular on the components that I think is worth mentioning is that I do think that they have made a great improvement on the chips coming from Too Many Bones, where they were strictly one-sided. So you had 1 chips, 5 chips, 10 chips, 20 chips, and now you have chips that are 1 and 5s, so they're double-sided, which basically reduces the amount of chips necessary by half. And it just makes it that much easier to say, here's a bag of 1 to 5, pull out a 1, and you just pull it out and you just look which side's the 1, and that's what you've pulled out. It's just something like that, which is such a simple change, makes a big difference, I think, in the way the game plays and how easy it is.
I've always been kind of drawn to chip theory games in general. Like Burn Cycle, as much as I don't really like that game, was really well made. Hoplomachus, like I was blown away with from the first time we sat down.
Like
to
the
look
Coliseum tray and stuff. They always do interesting things.
But this, like, I think my favorite part is that player board, and how nice it is to just know from the get-go, like, okay, these are where, you know, the skills, like, will slot in the little circles.
And I think one also important difference from Elder Scrolls to Too Many Bones, if that's why you're watching this video, is that Too Many Bones, the battle map is just a square. And it is, I don't even know the numbers, 4x4. I don't remember how large it is, but it is a square. Whereas in Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era, you have a much more kind of like traditional hex grid based system.
So nice.
That is just much more interesting to navigate. And then you can also build in the Delve system. You're gonna like build maps as you go, and stuff like that is much more interesting and engaging than the same square map every time. How do you feel about the playtime and commitment with this game? Because it is a lot, but I also think that if you're coming from Too Many Bones, if you're interested in chip theory in general, you've probably done a little research and know that that's kind of expected. It's not 20 strong, right, which is their solo 30-minute board game.
I'll say, like, after a finished campaign, like, I feel good for a bit.
Yeah.
I don't feel like the need to jump right back into one right away. But like I said, I've started up my third session, third campaign, so it's something I do
Clearly
find
something
myself
you want to come back to.
returning to. Yeah.
I tend to lean towards games that don't last a really, really long time, yet I was sad every time we were done with this, so I loved it.
It doesn't feel like a 4-hour session. Right?
Yeah,
Because
that might be the way they captured the video game the most.
Yeah, because everything happens. Like, a lot happens in like a game, right? Like a session, so it doesn't feel like a slog or anything.
No.
Yeah, I think the box says 2 hours plus 30 minutes per player, which I think is accurate. We've already touched on this a little bit, but to speak a little more to the interaction, I thought that was obviously an incredible part of the experience for me. You mentioned it briefly, but in my first session, I played the Dark Elf Shadow something, because what we haven't touched on is that when you first start the game, you're basically picking they actually recommend you go through the jailbreak scenario, which is what like sets you up with your character and gives you your abilities and things that you go off of. But in our case, we just chose, and I chose a character that was just over my head. And perhaps going back with the experience, I might be able to do better. But going into the second game, I chose to pivot off that Dark Elf Shadow character and move to a Khajiit Bard, and just had such a wonderful experience with it. I was immediately thrust into like you get a reroll, you get a reroll, you get a reroll, and you get a whole free turn and attack, and I'm gonna heal you, and the interaction just popped off, and it certainly made the game just that much more enjoyable for me from someone that it's a character that I'm struggling to figure out that I would love to return to and spend more time to figure out, but just to an immediate impact on the game and on your all's game too, because when you have that kind of cooperation and support, not only am I doing better, but I think I'm increasing my own enjoyment, but I think because of that I'm increasing your all's enjoyment too, because you're able to do cooler things.
There's so much complexity in like how each character plays, and like so much uniqueness in how each player plays. I don't think this is a game you could really quarterback. It's like a game where you have to discuss like, this is what we have to do and how can we get there, you know?
Yeah. Man, I wouldn't even know where to begin to be like, all right, Kenny, you do this, this, and this. I mean, I could be like, Kenny, can you do something about this guy? I don't know.
It reminds me a
lot.
Do
something with those cool dice.
Right. It reminds me a lot of like Spirit Island in the way that the spirits in themselves are so individually complex that like you're all heads down on your own person that you can quarterback in the sense that like, look guys, this is what we need to do. Can we do it? And then it's up to each individual person to figure it out. I'm not looking at your board like, oh man, if you do this and you can do that and you can hit this person and this can happen. It's like, guys, we need to kill this guy. And then Kenny spends 15 seconds and he's like, look, I can put this on this guy, and then if you slap him, it'll kill him, which will make it bounce and kill that guy, which will make it bounce and kill that guy. And it's those moments that make that cooperation really shine.
It feels a little bit like a D&D adventure in that sense, or like almost like you're playing like a video game altogether online, because like I have no idea what you're able to do,
capable of,
and it'll just be funny because like I'm like, oh, we're in danger, like I really hope Kenny does something there, and then he's like, I think I got it, and he'll reach into his pocket and he'll throw out dice that have things on them that I don't even understand, like he'll roll and I'll be like, Was that good? Was that a good roll, Kenny? And then finally he'll be like, yeah, this person disappears, and I give a little bit of their health to you, and I'm like, yes, okay, this is amazing.
And then you get to use your dice that does max damage health.
Yeah,
and
mine was maybe the most straightforward character. Mine was just hit guy with big sword.
Big stick.
But like, it was cool how like we kind of just went into the trope of, you know, archer, thief, big stick, wizard. Right, and by the end we were I don't know, you're right, like it was kind of cool, that progression where from the first time we were working together we were kind of just figuring out like, what is it that you can even do right on your turn, but by the end we were able to be like, okay, I think that like Doolin can do that big guy, but what about all these little guys? Okay, we'll give them the space to like go in there, and we'll take care of these guys. And it was cool.
I'm like able to daze a couple opponents so they can't move to attack you, and we're just like, let's just stay away from him. And it's like, I can kill this guy, or I can get him down to 2 and get it. It's just like, you get to learn not only your character but also your teammates' characters, and then by the end of the game, you're just really seeing some opportunities to shine. Lastly, before we get on to our like final thoughts, worst thing, best thing rankings. Talk about the variability of this game. We don't have the box in front of us. There's been some B-roll shown on screen. This is just the lid of the box, and the box is not this small. This is like the lid on a box, a big box. But there's a lot to this box, including and not limited to at least one expansion that's already out that we don't have access to. And I have to imagine that as long as they can maintain the IP, there will be way more content.
It's been a lot of Elder Scrolls over the years.
Yeah. Even just core box though, there's a lot.
Because like there's like 5 or 6 booklets that each are for separate continents. Like there's the,
which is nuts.
Skyrim. There's the Skyrim,
Black Marsh, Morrowind.
So like, and each one has a very specific quest line for each of the guilds. And there's like 8 or 9 guilds in the game, and on top of that, just how you build your character can be so unique. So you can like you start like as like maybe a Dragon Knight and or Dark Elf or something, but you can spec your character into whatever you want. There's so much like to explore, like how you build your character and like finding like fun combos or even broken combos. I don't know. There's just a lot there if you're into that kind of thing. So
and on top of that, I noticed that if I could rebuild my character exactly the same with the exact same skills, I could turn them into a different type of that skill, because there were plenty of dice that I just didn't go down that tree because I was like, well, it doesn't really fit what I've already picked up. But like, if I had known and I'd really read over my things before, I might have changed.
So before we get into best things, let's talk about worst things, which I'm not sure we have a ton to say. For me, it's probably just the commitment. Like I've said, I already don't have a lot of time to play games, so committing to a month worth of Elder Scrolls Betrayal of Second Era is a big deal. Now, if you play this solo, or if you have a group that meets regularly specifically for campaign games, wow, this might be perfect for you. I loved this game. I think it's really wonderful, but it is that opportunity cost.
I think the rule book is pretty good, but I really wish there was and they give you like a good player sheet with like all the different skills and all those things. But I wish there was one more sheet that had laid out some of the more persistent iconography that shows up in the game. That I was often like having to go through the rule book just to see like, okay, what is this specific icon and
That's fair.
stuff like that. So I wish there was like a little bit more player aid to help make a smoother
Which is
experience.
funny in a game with this much player aid, but there's so much.
Yes, I do. The player aid isn't that bad. Compared to like something Too Many Bones, where like you're literally getting like a unique player aid per character. So I appreciate it's not to that level, but I wish there was a little bit more to help just make the game run smoother. I think.
Yeah.
One more complaint, if I'm being incredibly picky.
Okay.
And that's that by the end, the very, very end, it did feel like we had already seen that level of difficulty in terms of the baddies that we were facing. I know that 20 pointers were already pretty insane, but I would have liked it if they had like just one more level, right? Like a 50-point baddie that you just throw in there, and like that. There's only one, right? At the very end, you find one more monster that is just a step above.
Yeah.
Because by the end, we were facing like 8 20-pointers.
Yeah.
Right? Well, instead of that, like, what if there was just one more level up, right?
And I think the way they do that is through the unique things, like, oh, you have to kill these blood vines. I forget what the name
Which I'm
of
sure
them
it's
were.
different each time, because we faced a
Oh,
vampire lord.
yeah, I'm certain.
But like you said, you had to like assassinate some dude.
Well, yeah, I mean every end encounter is going to be completely different. So I think it's just really how I think like the variability and like how that feels is just going to be like how the encounters are set up. So, but I mean like 50-point chip would be pretty cool. So
That would be pretty cool, yeah. Like all-doing.
Oh yeah.
Get a 50-point all-doing. As long as I get Mehrunes Razor, a 0.5% chance to just wipe
We're
them
helping
out.
you guys with expansion ideas.
That's
is what
right.
we're trying to do, Chip Theory.
Uh,
A 50-point expansion, like that'd be nuts.
Imagine, like, just super tyrants. That'd be sweet. Best thing about Too Many Bones.
I already said mine. It's the variability.
Yeah.
Like 1,000%. It's like I can choose all of these different skills, and you can have entirely different skills than me. And by the end of the game, we're just like, and I got to choose it along the way. Like while we were visiting towns, I got to look through what was available and see the items that were available, and then choose how best is all of this gonna go, and like how do I spend my experience this round, and getting really excited because I just got one dice that I really want to show you guys next round. Like I'm gonna hit somebody even harder this time, and it was so fun, and that's coming from the guy who chose. I do this with a lot of games. If I don't know the game well, I just pick the guy who hits things hard because typically that's the most straightforward.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like, okay, obviously my turn's going to be run up and hit.
Yeah.
But like there was so much variability in this that it got me excited about the possibility of coming back to it. It got me excited about the possibility of extra skills that I could add around two-handed.
Yeah.
And the fact that we played Skyrim and we finished it and it felt like a full, like they could have just released Skyrim and I would have been content. But the fact that
Right.
there are so many other campaigns and
Yeah.
stories that we've not even seen or touched it makes me want it. I want it right now.
Yeah.
I want to own it real bad.
I really like how they handled the sandbox experience in the game of just like you kind of control what you're doing, where you're going. Like it makes it just a much more satisfying experience, like knowing that you kind of chart your own destiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That overland map portion of the game each time I think was like such a cool and like unique feeling experience for a board game.
Answer to me is you just never know what you're going to get, which I think is kind of something it's all of our favorite things, the variability, the overworld, all that stuff. But we've played sessions of this that are incredibly difficult, and then you go back to town and you have like a funny little side quest you can do, or you run into a guy and like I literally had to flick a disc on the overland map and nailed it, and it was glorious, right? It was like I was playing Crokinole in the middle of playing Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, literally.
And so I do think that there's just something around each and every corner, which is probably something that we're going through with Skyrim, right? I mean, part of what makes Skyrim so great is the amount of exploration you can do and the amount of things you can run into in any given corner of any given map. And in this, it's just like there's just something always there to do. And it can be a brutally difficult combat where you see a cool vampire, or it can be flicking a disc on a map to move through muddy terrain better. I don't even
Or
remember
running
what the
into a
concept
wizard
was.
who tries to get you to eat something.
Exactly.
And he says, let's eat.
Let's do it.
I mean, I think I'd give it 5 out of 5. Like, I think it does what it needs to set out to do so well that like, I don't.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I don't think it's replaced Too Many Bones for me or anything like that, but it's created such like unique.
He had over too many bones already.
Wow. For like a big adventure style game, this kind of like really fits my wheelhouse of what I want. What I want out of that experience.
The IP is so cool. We forgot
Yeah.
to talk about that. But anyway,
I mean, it's in the title.
I love Skyrim.
Elder Scrolls. It's
I
in
love
the
Elder
title.
Scrolls. I played Oblivion. Did you guys play Oblivion?
Yeah, I used all the command sheets to get all the glass armor and stuff. Life was cool.
I bought a horse. I didn't buy the horse. Don't worry.
What's your rating?
I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5 for now.
Yeah.
Because once I own it and once I play through it a bunch, I expect it to be one of my favorite games ever. It's hard to give a game a perfect score for having only played through so little of it.
Yeah.
Like, even though we've played a whole campaign together, we've yet to see a whole lot of it.
And I think I'm just going to go for a 4 right now.
4.
But 4 or 4.5. I am right there. There is, just the fact that campaign games are just hard to table for me. I think that it's just one of those things that, like, if I'm objectively looking at the game and the way the game made me feel and how much I enjoyed the game, it probably is a 4.5, or at least a 4.5 out of 5. But I mean, I am weighting it with like, the opportunity cost. Like, how often am I actually going to play this? And if people are watching this talking about whether or not they should buy it, like, it may be one of the best 4.5 out of 5, 5 out of 5 games. But know yourself, right? Know what you are can handle, what you are going to end up playing it, whether it's going to end up sitting idly by on your shelf collecting dust. So I think that it's worth thinking about that.
But wouldn't it make a beautiful dust collector?
It would.
Look at how pretty that is.
It is pretty. But yeah, I think for me it's like a 4.25. I really do love it. There's just a lot to it, and I think I'm with you, Doolin. I just want to play it more. And kind of explore more of what it has to offer. The different characters, the different worlds, the different quests, the different guilds. There's just so much out there. So this or Too Many Bones, right? We know where you stand.
Yeah, I
didn't play a
not
lot of Too Many Bones.
I played like twice.
Yeah, and one of those was a very wrong session.
Yeah, but I had fun with that one.
Yeah, we did.
And I had fun the second time. I just think that the combat is meh.
The thing that, you know what, we should have talked about this earlier, but I'm glad it's coming up now, is the combat is quite different in the sense that you are doing your cool things way more often in Elder Scrolls than you are in Too Many Bones. Because when you use a dice in Too Many Bones, I mean, it's used up, which is most of the dice, not all of them, but most of the dice, which is how we played it incorrectly the first time, is you were Boomer and you were like, I use this. And then, like, 2 turns later, you were using
grenades
it again.
all the time. Yeah, basically, we played it like this, and it was way more fun.
I kind of agree.
Yeah.
And I love that you can feel cool and use your skills much more consistently than you could in Too Many Bones.
I don't know what these guys are talking about. Too Many Bones is still great.
Whoa. Nothing I said was saying that Too Many Bones wasn't great.
No,
I'm saying that.
I heard you guys say it was garbage.
I'm just kidding. It's not garbage, but
I still they're different. They are very different games in a lot of ways. Like, I really love the fact that each gear lock is really defined to what it is. And,
I 100% agree.
And kind of like exploring the skill tree of each one is really fun. And I do also like that it's like a one-shot experience, right? So yeah, I think there's room for both. They're both very expensive, so maybe that's like the hindrance of like why have both. But in terms of just like having both to play, I think they're both super fun, and I'm happy to have both.
But yeah, I think they're both wonderful, and hopefully our video has helped you come to the conclusion of which one you think you
Yeah.
need.
In terms of which one I like, or which one I think you should buy, this one is a Fusro duh.
That was actually pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. That was actually pretty. I really expected something real stupid to come out of your mouth, and though that was stupid, it was also funny.